I'm going to have some links down below in the description box to the 3rd gen Scarlett 2i2 for the specs, the 4th gen Scarlett 2i2 for the specs, and for reference, the picture, because it's easier for me to show you this blown up picture than it is for me to show you the actual one sitting in front of me. First, we're going to do something very important. I'm going to play a very small audio clip. The first time you hear it, it's going to be the 3rd gen. The second time you hear it, it's going to be the 4th gen. So, this is a microphone sound check. That's it. Let's play that again. So, this is a microphone sound check. Like how I used my fingers instead of putting a nice number on the screen. So what I'm at least noticing, and it's with the microphone literally with my chin just gently scraping up against the cover of the Shure SM7B here, at least I find it is slightly less muffled. That is the first and foremost thing that I noticed when I upgraded. I do this because it may or may not be worth the upgrade for you. Now, generally, I'm playing soothing wind and rain in the background, but I think that it would detract from what I'm trying to highlight here. So that's first and foremost, a little bit of extra clarity. The second thing that is apparent is that we're getting an extra 13 decibels instead of 56 decibels for the microphone input gain range. We're getting a full 69. And if I'm not mistaken, because I'm not really tech savvy, if it had been an extra dB, you know what I'm saying? It would have been a different class of amp. It would have been, I think it's just what's considered class A. I know there's like class A and then class like AD or something like that. Whatever one is the better one. Had it just done 1 more dB, it would have done that. Same impedance, okay? Now, you can read this on your own. I don't want to spend too much time in here. Just know that this unit is better. It is louder where it needs to be louder. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's worth the upgrade. See, for me, it was, because compared to the 3rd generation, we used to have combo jacks in the front, if you remember. Okay? Well, now we don't have that. We have what I call the guitar input jacks for the front, and the microphone, or XLR, inputs in the back. And yes, you guessed it. When I plugged in my Shure SM7B in input number 1 here, it does disable input number 1 in the front. This is a 2i2, not a 4i4, and even then I think it would have canceled it out anyways. You also have a select button. So when you select it, you'll get a light that appears, either green on 1 or green on 2 to toggle between both. This is your 48 volt. Again, the whole condenser dynamic microphone thing. You may need to turn that on or not, depending on the kind of microphone that you have. When you turn that on, it automatically turns it on for both inputs. You can't just manually have it for one. Inst for instrument gives you a little extra gain when I'm plugging in my guitar. So that I would select 2. And I plug in my guitar into the 2nd jack. I hit instrument, make sure that this is green, and then I can go back and select the first one, and then instrument, the light won't be on. Because when these go on, they go green. Then this is your auto gain, so it just kind of autos it so it doesn't go too goosey, and then safe is to make sure that you don't clip. The air is a little bit different this time, and actually we can test it. Now I have air on. Because in my test with the 3rd gen, I also had the air on. However, if we go here and select it, we also have an air with drive. You may notice a difference. And then I can just go ahead. Now that's with it completely off. I'm just going to go back and to this one. This little thing is really nifty because you can manually click on auto gain, safe, and all that, and you can see your levels, which is very important. I'm going to leave this up here. You see something here. When you turn these knobs, okay, on the 3rd gen, you had a little line, and you could go all the way to the minimum. right? Which is like 7 o'clock if we're using clock terms. And then you could go all the way to like 4 o'clock. Okay. On this one, either direction, it goes forever. So how do you know if it's really low or really high? You got to follow this green light that is going to emit a light like an arc. And in the beginning, my microphone sounded really bad because the gain was too high and I couldn't really tell just how loud is it. But now if we look at this, we could tell that I rarely ever even go close to the 0 because I also have a limiter in my OBS that makes it that I actually technically, in theory, can't go beyond -6 dB. If I scream like this and go, oh my God, would you take a look at that? You can hear the emphasis in my voice that I'm screaming. I don't know why I did this. I was screaming. But you're not going to be going, oh my God, bro, what the hell? Warn us before you do that next time. That's called a limiter, but that's another story for another day. So I had to use this because essentially this is the number one thing that I don't like about the 4th gen. It's actually the only thing I don't like about it, is the fact that it was a little bit weird for me to know, well, where am I? Because like I said, you could just keep turning it into infinity, right? So that was a little bit odd. This is new. This thing here with the light, that's kind of cool because that wasn't there before. You still have your direct monitoring. You still have your headphone jack. I got an adapter, 1/4 inch to 3.5 millimeter or whatever, so I can use my cheap little Sony earbuds in there. The volume seems to be a little bit louder, a little bit better. Some people have been complaining in the past that the headphones volume's not good. For me, it's good. I never go past 12 o'clock. Now, I want to talk to you about the Shure SM7B while I'm at it. So I had the 3rd gen with the SM7B that I'm using right here. And on the 3rd gen, let's say that is like 4 o'clock. I had it, well, maybe no, maybe that's 5 o'clock. Whatever. I had it, you see where the blue circle is? I had it like, say, 90% turned up, but I didn't have any issues. It didn't sound bad at all. Like, at all. I didn't strain it. I wasn't clipping. It sounded fine. Just a 3rd gen with a Shure SM7B with no cloud lifter-like peripheral, which is like an attenuator, I believe. I have one from a company called Art. It's much cheaper. Barely cost me $50. So I bought it anyways, and the difference on the 3rd gen was that instead of having to crank it about 90%, I had the knob, the gain knob, at about 11 o'clock, like right around here. But in the end, I didn't really notice that I had less or more noise. Like, I just didn't really, I couldn't tell the difference. But because I'd bought it, I figured, you know what? I might as well just leave it plugged in, because it definitely can't hurt anything. I already bought it and I didn't want to return it. Now on this one, I'm not using it, but I can't tell you how much gain I'm using, if that makes any sense. But I could promise you, because you're getting that extra 13 dB, and a cloud lifter usually gives you around 20. So it's like, I'm not too good at math here. You know, it's like, it's definitely not like having a cloud lifter. It's like having 55% of a cloud lifter, because it's not quite, you're not getting a full 20, but you're getting more than 10. You're getting 13, okay? So you will definitely, in my opinion, depending on what you're doing, I don't see how you're going to need a cloud lifter or any type of device with the 4th gen. Also, the preamps are different, just the analog digital convert, all that funky stuff, new chips, right? I mean, in the end, it's really nice. Now I've got my PreSonus Iris E44s plugged in the back. Good for me. Now, when it comes to this, what's really nice about this, I forget what this is for. It's just powered by USB, by the way. But the 5-volt DC is good if you plug it into an iPad. It has that ability now to hook into a device that may not give enough power to power this, okay? Because the other ones that I was looking at was like the Apollo Solo or the Apollo Twin, but those, unless it's a Thunderbolt 3, you cannot use USB-C to power it. It won't power it. And for me, with everything that I got plugged in, an Xbox Series X, a PS5, a Nintendo Switch, my computer, my DSLR camera, I've got 2 screens, I've got 2 studio monitors, I could probably go on. Now, I've got a steering wheel for my racing sim games. I got a lot of stuff plugged in. And I'm just like, no, man, I'm done. I'm not plugging anything else in. So it had to be a USB-C capable, bus-powered, audio interface. And so for the price, when I went to Long & McQuaid's, because I'm in Canada, in American currency, because most of my peeps are from the good old US of A, it cost me about $100, roughly. 90 to $100 to trade in my old 3rd gen to upgrade to the 4th gen. And to me, it was worth it. It sounds slightly better. I've got my input for my mic in the back, so everything's a lot cleaner, but I still wanted my guitars to be in and out from the front along with my headphones jack. So it literally just catered to my direct needs, and it was just amazing. Now I don't need at all to use the cloud lifter. I may try it just for the sake of trying it, because, I do own it, and I'm probably never going to get rid of it. But aside from that, it's not like a night and day thing, but it's noticeable enough that it's worth the upgrade. The other thing I want to touch base with is the knob. Like the quality, the build. So we've got a matte finish instead of a glossy finish. And when you turn that knob, okay, when you turn it, I don't know why this thing is taking up so much of the screen, but the knob here, okay, when I would turn it, I could hear like a little bit of static, kind of like in the 80s when you had a television and it wasn't on a channel, and it made like that staticky kind of sound while you're increasing it. So if I was like blaring YouTube and I was jamming along on my guitar and I wanted to turn up the volume, maybe it didn't quite sound like that, but something along those lines. Okay, and it just didn't feel as smooth, as premium. This one here, let me tell you something. Never mind you. The knob right here. Wow, it just feels more premium. It really, really does. Now, these knobs are plastic. I believe the 3rd gen, these were they metal? I can't frickin' tell now. Oh, are you kidding me? It's even cut off here. Whatever. I believe they may have been metal. But that doesn't mean that it's cheap. But I just wanted to point that out for the sake of conversation, okay? So the software with this thing here, I just love it. Like I said, the only the only thing that I'm like, really, is the fact that there is an infinite turn. You don't know when you've maxed it and when you're at the minimum. You do know by looking at the halo light here, and even that could be a little bit tricky. You're going to want to open that up. So if you do install it and you right click on it, go to the Focusrite Control 2, it'll pop that open. If you pop this open, never mind that, it's going to show you like your buffer size and all that stuff. I think mine is down to like 96 or 64. I used to have it on like 128 or 256 on the 3rd gen because I felt that sometimes I was getting a little bit of audio artifacting. I'm not getting that on this, and it's the same computer. Could it be because of the higher quality chips? It allows me to drop it so that essentially my latency now is at 9.7 ms instead of 15.5. But again, that's because I was able to drop the size of the buffer, right? And we can hear, like I said, that my voice is essentially the same as, let's do the test again. The first one is the 3rd, the second one's the 4th. So, this is a microphone sound check. Okay? Like, it's amazing. So if you have that thing where you're like, you know what, I want the XLR in the back, and I want a better output knob without the distortion, not distortion, the staticky kind of sound. You want to definitely make sure that you don't need a cloud lifter for a Shure SM7B microphone if you're using it. And you already have a third gen and you have like a computer. You have a guitar music store that'll let you trade it in for like $90 or $100 US. And you've had yours like I did for like 3 or 4 years. Sure, upgrade. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that you're missing out on anything astronomical, at least for what I do. All I do is this. I ramble, I play video games. Once in a blue moon when I get a new gadget, I'll talk about it. Aside from that, I'll play guitar. But as you can tell by my channel, I don't really record guitar. I'm not all that good enough to show off and wow the world with my uber skills. So I don't do that. And when it comes to an Apollo twin or solo's the same, just got the single core, because that's something that's like $1,200 Canadian, whereas this is like just under $300 for an extra $900. Me personally, even for an intermediate, I would not recommend it. If you're an audio engineer, you're really making some good money with whatever it is you're doing, like gigging and stuff like that. You're making more money than me. I only make like $600 a month on YouTube for a small channel here. It might not be worth you getting something like an Apollo, which seems to be like the gold standard. They can have like their own like plug-in DSPs on board, but none of those I like, because I use my own plugins when it comes to my microphone, when it comes to my filters here. I've got the noise gate from OBS. I've got the compressor. I used to use bias effects for my compressor and my noise gate, which is funny because that's a guitar effects program. I'm using FabFilter Pro Q for the EQ. And then I've got wider, I've got FabFilter Pro De-esser, so that when I make those snaky sounds like that, the sibilance, you're still going to hear it. I don't have it so it cuts it out because that would be unnatural. I have it so that there's like a 3 decibel reduction so that you hear it, but it's not piercing through your skull, through your ears. And then I've got that limiter. Simple as that, a release of 60 milliseconds, a threshold of minus 6 dB, and that's that thing where it can go, oh my God, did you see that shot? And again, your eardrums didn't pop. You don't want me to take off that limiter and do it, because your earbuds will pop out of your ears without even you having to touch them. So again, with the amount of money that this costs, okay, let me tell you something. I don't want to have to use onboard proprietary VST plugins. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm just saying strongly consider it, rent it, test it out. You might be surprised. These budget, I don't know why I'm doing this again. It is a budget. This is a budget audio interface. But today in 2023, even in the last like couple of years, these interfaces are better than professional cream of the crop, top of the line, the Bugatti of audio interfaces if you compare them to going back like 20 years. So like in the early 2000s, 2001, 2, and 3-ish, in that era, this right here would absolutely rival, if not almost floor, a professional one from back then. So how good you got to get? A Mercedes is pretty damn good. But if you really feel that you need the Bentley Azure, go ahead. Go ahead. But to me, the Mercedes is luxurious enough for me. Okay? I don't need to Andrew Tate my garage, predominantly because I can't afford it. Yeah. So I think I've done enough rambling. I gave you an example in the beginning. I walked you through the little extra little doodad thing that you see here. The one thing I didn't like about it with the set max and minimum, how things work with the select to go back and forth, how I explain that the 48 volt is either on or it's off for both. That's not independent. However, you can have like instrument and such and air independent from one another. You just select your input, You select it, boom, inputs in the back, all that kind of stuff, and then the extra 5-volt DC, the extra 13 dB, right? Just like a super quick recap, and the lack of static when you turn the output. Oh, and by the way, I've tested 3 3rd-gen Scarlett 2i2s and even a solo 3rd-gen. They all did that staticky thing. This one's not doing it. I'm just saying. But all the bigwigs on YouTube, they're not going to talk to you about all those subtle, itty-bitty little pieces of detail I just shared with you. They're going to get all hog wild. And while this one's got a noise-floor ratio, is what the fuck are you saying? Okay. But again, I'm going to have these down below because the 3rd gen was actually a little bit tricky to find because it's no longer like their pushed out product. I had to go through a couple of clicks to get to it. But this way, if you really want to get goosey with all the intricacies of the specs, just down below, like I said, the first one will be for the 3rd gen. I'll have it labeled in the description box. 4th gen, second link, and then if you want to look at the pretty picture. So yeah, I would recommend this product, but not like as a, oh my god, it's a must-have. I was really content with my 3rd gen, but at the same time, I'm happy that I got this, but maybe it's also because of the psychosomatic aspect to it that it's something new. I had the old one for almost 4 years. This is shiny. Actually, it's not shiny because it's matte. Get it? See what I did there? That was me trying to be funny. That's why my comedic career never took off. Helps if I could speak as well. Although English is not my first language, nor my second. It's my 3rd. Anyways. So that's that. I have nothing else to add. I'm done. How long was this recording for? Oh, and then I got to go through some of my settings briefly as well. Just for shits and giggles, as people would say. So if you liked the video, go ahead. Give it a thumbs up. I mean, it does greatly help support the channel with that algorithm, so they say. And if you didn't like the video, well, that's just too bad. Go ahead, give it a thumbs down. We'll bend it in half, twist it, break it off in your ass. And we'll make sure when you go and you buy one of these, that money, it gets declined when you use your card. And instead, those funds end up trickling into my PayPal account so that I can help finance the next microphone I want to buy. The Electro Voice, the Electro Voice, RE27N / my camera's backwards. D. Yeah, whatever. If you want to subscribe, great. If not, trust me, I don't blame you. Thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care. And maybe, if I'm lucky, I'll see some of you in the next one. Bye for now.